All right. And we are live on Facebook and YouTube, I hope. Good to see you, Jasmin.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
My pleasure. So we had at Sub460 the honor of having you as a workshop expert to talk about growth marketing just now. And it was extremely appreciated by the Sub460 members and our other partner friends. So really good of you to find the time to join and share some of your knowledge.
I'm happy to share my what I've learned.
Yeah, it's really good because it's such a core thing for startups to look at their marketing from a growth point of view, and that's why I hope with this casual 30-minute fireside chat to just cover some of the general topics and not only keep that secret to our members, but also hopefully share with some people that will see this online. Why don't we start with a quick introduction? Do you want to share, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why you're here?
All right, so I'm Jasmin Yaya. I work at Skilla Studio. We founded Skilla Studio just 6 months ago, and we're already 6 people. And what we do is that we help organizations growing. We do that with data-driven processes. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping organizations grow and make better business decisions by helping them with their data. So my background is in data analysis. And one thing I did not tell you is that I'm actually an optometrist. So I started out pretty young as an optometrist, and I figured
What's
out
that?
The eye test person.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you go and get glasses or contacts, when you go and get your eyes tested, that's the person. I was that.
Awesome.
Version A, version B, and basically doing A/B testing is the same thing. Someone comes in, they have a problem, they need new glasses or they need contacts. We do a measurement to see what their status is right now, and then we give them a suggestion. So this is the results, and based off of those results, we can give you an app or a website or a better onboarding or contacts or glasses. It's the same thing. And then we build that, and the customer is happy, pays a lot of money, and then goes and breaks it and come back, basically. Kind of the same thing. But
so that's where you came from when you started your testing mentality, or what do you want to?
Well, back then, the marketing with eyewear looked very much like sell a great product. The eyewear product is a very nice handcraft. I'm not talking about those that create perfumes or shoes or cars that also happen to create sunglasses. I'm talking about those that only create eyewear. The product is fantastic, but the marketing looked very much like sell thing with a half-naked girl. And I thought that was a very cheap way of selling things or marketing things. So I took this into my own hands. So together with my friend Baba, we started this eyewear blog, and it became the world's biggest eyewear blog. And what I became most interested in was the data behind it. Like, there were blog posts that were maybe 8 months old that still brought in the most traffic every single day. So I was like, why is that? Oh, there's something called SEO, and we have ticked all of the boxes. Or why is this Facebook marketing tactic that we're using right now working so good? So quit my job, went back to school, and started working with data and data strategy.
Awesome. And you worked with some pretty strong brands. Do you want to mention a few?
Yeah, I've always been working as a contractor. So I've been working with Spotify, Capital, Wear Labs, SVT, which is the Swedish public television. And I've been educating a lot of people at Hyper Island and Bergs. And so I've been both working with tech companies that are pretty new, but also some bigger corporations that don't have their core in tech, kind of, and they have a lot to learn from each other.
Yeah. Let's jump into it. We're talking about growth marketing. Why why should anyone care?
I mean, why we go to work every day or why we try to do something is that we want to grow. We want to grow the bottom line, right? We don't just want to maintain something that's boring, but we want to grow and improve stuff. So that's where growth comes from. And my biggest irritation kind of is that I know that a lot of people are working really hard, but it doesn't really amount to anything. So in the way of working with growth, you kind of learn faster what to do and what not to do. Because if you spend months or years on a project that is not going to give the end result that you want, you're going to be super sad. You're going to be bummed out, and you're not going to be as motivated to take on the next project and the next project that's going to fail. And companies that have been working with experiments, they know that only 1/3 of all their ideas will have a desired result. 1/3 of their ideas is actually going to hurt the business, and 1/3 of the ideas is not going to have a difference in the result at all. So only 1/3 of all our ideas are going to give a desired result. And the best way is to find that out in a faster way so that you don't get as sad as if you would run it out as a full-scale project.
Yeah. So, but how? I'm just talking about like when I think the most entrepreneurs, especially startups, understand that marketing. If you have an online product, then you can't talk to everyone in person, the customers that you're supposed to get or users, and then marketing comes into play. But then like this is like a very specific part of marketing, if you agree, and like if we look at marketing in general as a methodology to drive sales in some way, doesn't have to be directly, but it could be indirectly, but somewhere down the line it should reach sales, right? What in that context, like what is growth?
So growth kind of is right in between marketing and product development. Because, I mean, if restaurant owners know this, you're not going to make money off of first-time customers. You need to get people that come back many times, that will bring in their own friends, and that's how you will have a thriving business. And this is how you should think about your product as well. So how can you create as many growth loops as possible so that as fast as possible. So as soon as someone comes in, they end up in a growth loop so that when they take action on something, they do something that actually brings in even more people. And that's actually done within the first day, maybe first 7 days, but actually the first day that they start using your product. Starting to fix that when they've had the service maybe 7 days, 30 days, that's too late. And starting to fix that with different marketing tactics or hacks, that's not going to change the experience that they get when they come into your service either. So you need to have some kind of understanding what kind of channel is going to work best for bringing in new customers in a very cheap way, maybe not even costing any money at all, or if it costs money, it should give us a lot of value.
Yep.
So you can't work only in marketing, or you can't only work in product. You need to be kind of joining these together if you want to grow fast.
Yeah. I want to continue on something you said regarding the like how to get your users and customers within the first 7 days. Why is that so important? Like that first week or 3 to 7 days of when from the user signs up.
So I've seen this time and time again, but basically you're currently losing 80% of your marketing spend within 7 days. So all that traffic that you bought to bring in, you're losing 80% of that right then and there. So basically all the marketing spend that you put is just going to waste. And usually when companies talk to me about this, they already have a solution. they're like, yeah, we need a new marketing tactic. Can you do some smart growth marketing tactics for us? And that's not the real solution, because we're just going to bring in more traffic that is going to behave the same way. 80% out of those will stop using the product within the first 7 days. Or they will tell me, hey, can you come and do some growth product management for us in the existing product for the existing customers, which is basically the people that are using the product for 30 days or more. And that's not the solution either. So what you need to do is to start asking the 80% that stop using the product within the first 7 days, what made you stop using the product? Why didn't you find a value in this? And then you should tweak those first 7 days into having more and more people finding some value. Otherwise, you're just going to bring in a lot of traffic that is not going to amount to any value, or you're just going to develop a lot of features for almost no people.
Yeah, so that's really interesting that you have that type of span or attention span, a time to really convert. I think I heard it on one of your podcast episodes regarding if I call it anti-churn emails. I don't know if you use that word, but like there are like some set ways to sort of activate those users within the 7 days. Could you mention?
Sure. There's a bunch of tactics you can use. When the first thing you need to do as a company is to understand what is your churn rate, and when does that churn happen in a customer's user journey? Like, what is the typical thing? And you're going to find out that it's within the first 7 days that churn happens. And then you can start using a lot of different tactics to, when you see that people start behaving in a certain way that it looks like they're gonna start to churn, then you can use a lot of different tactics, and emailing them is one way. If you can send push notifications, that's another way. Like, start to activate them. What is the core activation part in your product? For a streaming service, that's of course to start browsing and maybe start playing a show. So like if you're Spotify or Netflix, like send a push notification to them. Or if you have their email address, like send one email telling them this is your next best thing to do, whatever that might be. So that's a really good way for business-to-business companies to reactivate those that haven't been active in your product for some time. But then you can also, like, when someone is about to churn, you can ask them why. You should always ask them, why are you churning? So basically you're sending them into kind of a survey. So you ask them a few quick questions like, why are you churning? Like, why don't you want to continue with us anymore? Maybe there's another option for you. Maybe you're on a higher plan. Maybe an option for you is to pause or go to another cheaper plan for now. And just like give them some options and not just go like, okay, you're done, bye-bye.
Yeah.
So, and just give them a nice kind of experience in that last experience.
What, like if I just go to myself, if I get a anti-churn email that says like, hi, do you want to tell us why you're churning? Like, obviously not communicated like that, but if I'm sort of leaking as a user and they send me an email to ask me to fill in a survey, like,
that's not what I meant. So
got it. Okay.
So when you've subscribed to a service and you as a user go like, I want to quit using this, instead of just being able to say like, quit, okay, then you're done. That's when you send them into this kind of survey journey, like a churn flow. So that's when you start asking them, okay, we're sorry to see you go. Can we just ask you why? All right, is this another option for you? Okay, no, yeah. Okay, bye. So that's when you do it, not sending them a one-off email. The email is more like, you see that the behavior of this user is like, uh-oh, they haven't used our service in a long time. That's a red flag for them probably churning within a few weeks or months. So let's activate them with something that is relevant to them, something that can give them value, so that they come back to our service and start using this again.
And you can basically embed those routines in your service, right? So it's not a manual thing. It's like a triggered by certain rules and user behaviors, I guess.
Sure. The first time you do it, it's always going to be super manual, because you need to test out different ways this is going to work for you. Every company, every brand, every service is going to be different. So you need to test this out. But as you've found out a way that works, you can put that in as an automation. So that's marketing automation, basically, with push notifications or with emails.
Yeah. We talked a lot about experimentation during the workshop session. Do you want to mention a little bit about that? What you mean when you say experimentation? It does, for most people, it's not a natural way of working, right?
Yeah. So going back to the fact that only 1/3 of all your ideas are going to produce the desired result, and you want to learn faster than your competitors. That's going to be your biggest advantage against them. If you know more, you're going to make better business decisions than they are. So you will last longer. Like at any given time, Facebook is running 22,000 experiments. Google is running 300,000 experiments per year. Booking is doing 400,000 experiments, and so on. So all the big Silicon Valley companies, they have experimentation teams, and not just one team, but basically every single team is working with experiments, and you want to run as many experiments as possible. So basically you want to learn what business decisions are going to bring you value and what is not going to bring you value. Those that are not going to bring you value, that's good, because then you found out in a very fast way, this is not going to work. This was a bad bet, rather than spending millions of your budget on that and then end up failing. And those that do work, then you want to implement them so that they can live for a longer time in your product or in your kind of strategy. And I see a lot of companies that do like one-off, like ad hoc kind of experiments. Like maybe 1 week we do an experiment on the landing page, and then 1 week we do an experiment on some checkout flow and stuff like that. But experimentation is basically a process that is in place where you know why you're experimenting with something. You have an idea, you have a hypothesis, like if we do this, then we will increase this KPI, this goal that we have. And we think that we will increase it even by 20%. And then you run the test, and then you get results back, so you can learn how good of a guesser you are, because everything is a guess, basically. We all want to say that we know so much about everything, but I mean, the world is changing faster than ever. I don't think anyone thought that they would be doing whatever they are doing right now 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, because the world is changing so fast. So we need to learn faster. We need to have a system for learning, and that system is experimentation. And I was talking about 3 ways of experimenting. So 3 main categories. One is surveys and polls, and like we've all seen them. It could be like, did you get what you were did you find what you were looking for? Or what's your age? Like stuff like that you ask people, or like basically things that answer why someone is behaving in a certain way. They need to answer that. You can't get that in a number. But when you're looking into your web or app analytics, you get the quantitative data that answers usually what they're doing, but not why they're doing. So surveys and polls for why a behavior is in a certain way. You can also do A/B tests. This is my favorite for validating your ideas, validating your hypotheses. And then you can also do the painted door tests, or sometimes it's called the smoke test as well. That's when you kind of put the whole experience in front of your users, just to get them to do whatever they are supposed to do, and just test that out. It doesn't have to be a full-on project. Like, it could be maybe you want to start an education platform. You don't go and like hire teachers and buy the whole technical stuff and everything. You don't even know if that's the thing. So you just ask for people to sign up for your education platform. And if you get enough signups, then that's enough information for you to go further with that. If you don't get enough signups, then that's good, because you didn't have to spend that much money or time on that. So these kind of basic 3 types of experiments, a combination of those.
That makes sense. Startups have a extremely limited budget, right? When do you see, like, obviously from the get-go, when a company starts, like if you're building a product-oriented company where the product is supposed to solve a problem, everyone should think about product, right? But when does it make sense to actually have like a dedicated growth team? And so that's one question, when. And then second question on top of that, what skill sets should be in that growth team?
All right, these are really good questions. So first of all, you need to have PMF, like product market fit. You need to be able to prove that the solution that you have to people's problems is the solution that they are willing to pay for, and they want to have this without much effort. Like, you shouldn't have to be able to like put a lot of so much marketing resources on this and not get so much back. Or one great question that you can ask is, how disappointed would you be if you could not use our service anymore? And when 40% or more people answer, I would be very disappointed, that's a good indication that you have product market fit. If you would only have like 6% of your users saying that, I would say like you need to go home and redo everything. But if you have like 20%, maybe there's something there, and you need to start interviewing people that are using your product and people that aren't using your product anymore, and just switch everything around. So when you have product market fit, that's when you can start growing. You can't grow a product that doesn't have product market fit, and you can't change people's minds about your product. You can only change your product, like if you're not a dictator. So basically, and most of us are not, so we need to just change everything about our product.
In our industry, specifically in early stage tech startup world, most companies are searching for product market fit, right? But some tend to think that, or have indications of product market fit, and they test they do some paid acquisition, put some money on marketing, and then drive traffic to measure, rather than actually see that as a growth engine. What if, like, I've seen some examples of companies who put a lot of money just because the return on that investment, they have like fantastic SEO, for example, and they could really build traffic, and it's large enough market, and the cost of acquisition is low enough, so they can actually, even if they're leaking like Swiss cheese, they can actually drive a lot of traffic and get growth, even if they don't have good retention. Like, have you seen that happen? It feels like it's like people are raising money and getting more and more pushed to grow faster, and they start doing those things before they're ready. What do you think about those things?
I mean, I think it's really wise to work with SEO. And if you can get those numbers really high, that's really great, because SEO is something that is a long-term kind of strategy. It's not a hack that you do this week and then you can reap from that the next week. It's something like maybe 6 months from now on, you can start seeing the good results from that. So that's always something that has to be in place. But if you can't take care of that traffic, if 80% or more of that traffic is not turning out to be a user after 7 days, then you don't have a good product. I mean, I've seen so many, like maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, you could have, you either had to have a really, really good product, and that really good product like grew by itself. But now you can see a lot of really shitty products that are really big, and they're big because a lot of people use them, and especially business to business products. Like managers are afraid of choosing another smaller alternative, like the saying, like no one got fired for choosing IBM. There's a lot of products like that out there, and you can still have a lot of people in there. You can still, but you won't have growth. That's the thing. You won't have growth if that's, you're just gonna be able to maintain, like, as many people as you bring in, you're gonna have as much churn. So you won't be able to grow, and that's what we want. So you want to be able to take care of the first experience that a user has in your product. So you don't need a growth team before you have product market fit, but you need to experiment, and you need to have some kind of idea of what your first growth loops could be like. This is something that you need to have in place even before you start growing. So when you, what is it with your product that's going to be like, yes, I understand the value of this product, I'm going to stay here the next week as well.
Moment.
Exactly. So give that to me as fast as possible. And the only way to find that out is to test and test and test. And first you need to do it manually. You need to talk to people. You need to record their like usability tests or stuff like that. Then as you get more traffic in there, you can start looking at your data and do it more automated. But you won't be able to grow. You're just going to be able to maintain that amount of users.
Let's say you hit product market fit, and you're saying, great, we're ready for a growth team. Who should be there? What is the key skill sets?
So a growth is never a one-man show. You can never just hire one person and that person will be enough. You need a few different type of skill sets. You need developers, you need UX designers, you need analysts, you need someone who can run this whole team, like prioritize, keep the stakeholders away from the team, and align with the stakeholders and make sure that the organization is you're on board with the organization goals. You might also need someone who's really good with marketing and or copy, depending on what kind of tactics or growth you want to do. So you need kind of a cross-functional team of maybe 4 different roles. Sometimes there are people that can put on different hats, like the analyst can also be a product owner for the team, or the developer is also an analyst or something like that, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned, just want to cover before we move on to my next question, keep the stakeholders away from the growth team. Like, what do you mean with that?
I usually talk about my stakeholders as enablers, which really sets a different tone on what their role is and what we actually expect from them and what they can expect from us. So with the teams that I work with right now, the enablers, we meet with them maybe every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that. As soon as there's something that is hindering us, we let them know, and it's their job to enable the team rather than demanding things from the team. And their job is, usually their C-level management, and their job is to just set one very, very clear goal. And if they can't do that, I will help them to do that. But then just making sure that that's the one main goal that the whole organization is aligned around, so that different teams or different parts of the organization aren't like competing with each other. That's not gonna create growth.
And some of those C-level stakeholders might come in and say like, okay, Alex, I have a really good feeling about this. Like, let's do this and this and this, and just use their authority to drive a direction. Like, when do we draw the line between like that gut feeling and actual data?
This is a good one. So what you're talking about right now is a HIPPO, highest income paid person, something.
Usually middle-aged white men with a lot of opinions.
You said it, I didn't say it. So yeah, I mean, when we're making business decisions, we can do it based off of intuition or data. There's a big problem with both of them. A lot of, like, when we're doing intuition takes a lot of time, a lot of experience, but it's also very misleading because it comes from a lot of human biases. Like, we as humans, we tend to love our own ideas even more, or we may think that the potential of our own ideas is so good. That's why experimentation is really good. It kind of keeps us in check. And everyone is doing this. It's not just C-level management or stakeholders that do this. Even everyone does this, and we love our ideas so much. So let's test them out and see what works. And data can also be
eliminate a lot of debates and discussions as well. Like,
yes,
if
sure.
you like put that into your culture.
Definitely. But I mean, this is one of the biggest, the culture of this is one of the biggest hurdles to start experimenting. Like, if the C-level management or like the people that are running the company don't believe in this way of working, you're never gonna, this is not a grassroots kind of movement. This is something that has to come from top management. Like, we decide, I know the amount of features that we will get out every week is gonna be slowed down, but we will learn much more, and the amount of features that are working and will give us growth is gonna grow by time. So this is something that has to come from top down. It's not, otherwise you're gonna have such a hard time working your way through that organization. If you're a person that believes in experimentation and your management doesn't, just switch company. Don't do my kind of thing.
Don't work for fake Steve Jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Don't try to convince idiots, basically.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jasmin, I know you have to run. One last question. You're
Sure.
not getting away from it. Latest iOS update. What's gonna happen with all the trackers? And what should we do about it?
So basically, we're fucked. No, can I swear? Sorry. No,
fine.
but
it's fine.
No, I mean, so iOS 14.5 comes out any day now, and what basically is going to happen is that every user of your app is going to get a notification from the app, and it says allow like Facebook to track your activity across other companies' apps or websites, and you can say allow, or you can say ask app not to track. And I think a lot of people will be like, no, I don't want Facebook to be able to track me across a lot of other apps. So what this is going to do is it's going to be a lot harder for people creating ads through Facebook to be as precise. So we're going to have a lot of trouble with tracking, under-reporting the number of conversions. The cost per conversion is going to look as if it's higher, but it's not, because we're not tracking everything. It's going to be really hard to optimize with less data. Retargeting people is going to be really hard with iOS 14, and we're going to have less data for lookalike audiences. So this is obviously going to create a lot of problems for people advertising in Facebook and for Facebook as a company. Also, I mean, with the new iOS, cookies in browsers, in the Safari browser, they won't last more than 1 to 7 days. So
wow.
Yeah, so before you would be able to track someone, what they put in cart or stuff like that for maybe half a year or something.
Yeah.
And with Safari, you can't do that anymore. You will be able to do that still with some other browsers, but I know that Chrome will have another alternative, and Firefox and so on as well. And for Sweden, that is a big Apple kind of mobile country, like most devices here are Apple devices, this is going to be a huge problem. But if you're operating in a country that has more Android users, it won't be as big of a problem. So this is basically all I know for now. And let's see how media companies, advertising people are coping with this. It's going to be really interesting.
Very interesting. Also, I think the conversation between Apple and Facebook has just started about those things. So yeah, we have to invite you back to give us the most important learnings of where things end.
Sure, I would love to be back. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Jasmin. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for taking your time to give us some good stuff about growth marketing. What's the name of your podcast if people want to hear more about you,
right,
even though it's in Swedish?
The company name is Skilla Studio, so you can find us at skilla.studio. And the podcast, if you understand Swedish, it's called Datadrivet. And you can find Datadrivet on all podcasting platforms.
Awesome. Jasmin, have a great evening. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, you too. Bye.
See you. Bye.